Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome back to Vikings First and SKOL. I'm your host, Sally, and this is the very first playoff edition of Skoldiers and Spice. Tonight, we have an exciting episode lined up. I'm going to try my best to put Detroit behind me. And as we work towards the exciting Rams showdown it's in Arizona now. Breaking news. As of about an hour ago, it got officially relocated to Arizona. So, of course, we're going to talk about how that's going to affect the game. But joining me is one of my favorite content creators, Leighton Glodek. Oh my gosh. I just got a tongue twisted there. One of my favorite content creators, Leighton Glodek. You may know him from the Strictly Vikings podcast or his awesome Instagram and TikTok content. I am going to get his thoughts on Sam Darnold and if he thinks he is ready for the bright lights of the NFL playoffs. And our guy, Brian Flores, he is back in the news, and I am not talking about his interview schedule. There is a ton to talk about, so let's get into it. Leighton, hello. Good evening. How are you doing?
Good. How are you? Thank you for having me on, by the way. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk to you. I haven't talked to you before. I think we met pretty briefly. Was that the Lions game?
Yes, I believe it was the Lions game. Yes.
Okay. I met you for like 2 seconds at the playoff or at the tailgate before that game, and it was just like way too crazy. I couldn't even really talk to you, but I was happy that you stopped by.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. Your tailgates are awesome too. Very fun. I definitely recommend people stopping by next season.
Were you there a while?
I was there for a little bit. Yeah, I think it was like there was an hour before the game, I think. So I was just stopped in, had a drink, ate some food. It was delicious, and then I just kind of head in. So
Gotcha. Yeah, that was a crazy day. I think it was like 90 degrees, and it was just so many people there. So don't even know. But okay, yeah, I'm so happy that you could be here. We have so much to talk about. I see David says that my lip smacks are back, and I'm sorry. Like, I got so tongue twisted in the intro. I think I'm back taking my ADHD medicine. That might be what the problem is. I got a little dehydrated. But what's up, everybody in the chat? Chris Thompson, yes, absolutely, you should go to the game. Let's start with this breaking news here. The NFL has decided to relocate the game on Monday night because of the wildfires in LA, which of course is a bummer. I wish that they weren't moving it. I wish it was other circumstances why they were moving it, but obviously this works to the Vikings' advantage at least a little bit. What are your thoughts on them moving to Arizona?
yeah, I mean, obviously, first things first. The stuff in LA is crazy. Some of the videos out there, they don't even look real. Just thinking and praying for all those people out there that are going through that. I couldn't even imagine what that's like, and just sitting and waiting to see if your property and everything you have basically is going to survive that. It's crazy stuff going on. But yeah, obviously the thing that sticks out is that it's a major advantage for the Vikings. I saw the line move already. Vikings were 1 point favorites with the game being in LA. I think they've already jumped to 2.5 point favorites with it moving to Arizona. Obviously, we have all the people from Minnesota, Minneapolis. My grandparents used to do it. In the winter, they go down to Arizona, spend their winter there. And it's like, if you're there and it's your only chance to see a Vikings game this season, it's like, you got to go.
Yep.
So I feel like there's going to be a lot of Vikings fans there. And I saw someone say online, it might have been the biggest ball don't lie moment for a 14-win team to get gifted, a 14-win wild card team to get gifted this kind of thing like last minute for having to go on the road with 14 wins.
Yeah, that is actually that's a good point. And that is crazy. It is such an advantage for the Vikings, like you said, because of the fans and how many are going to be there. I've already seen a ton on Twitter saying that they're going to go. I actually booked a flight earlier today just in case it happened because I had some miles that were just burning a hole in my pocket. So I hope to be there as well. We'll see how the ticket situation turns out. But I'm assuming since it's kind of last minute, the tickets are going to be more affordable than if it were in LA. But yeah, I mean, as far as the Rams go, I read today that they even ended practice early because of some evacuation stuff. Sean McVay said that thankfully no players or coaches are directly affected by the fires as far as their property goes. But I can only imagine that's just a super stressful thing to deal with in general, having that anxiety that something could possibly happen to you or your family. And then the smoke is really why they had to move the game because the breathing conditions are just not preferable. So I think it's going to be, I'm feeling better about it. I'm surprised to hear you say that Vegas already moved the numbers though.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean,
But yeah.
it was surprising, honestly, to see the Vikings just favored on the road in LA. Like, I think we are the better team, but just with, I don't know, them already beating us, the Super Bowl experience, all that kind of stuff. It was a little shocking to see.
Yeah, I never understood that from the get-go why they were favored. I thought that that was weird, especially after how poorly they looked on
Right.
Sunday night against Detroit. But I don't want to talk about Detroit too much because I've been bummed about it all week. I got to shake it off. But of course, we'll get into it a little bit. But first, I want to talk about you and your podcast. And for anybody who may not know you, as I said in the intro, you make the best Vikings content on TikTok and Instagram
I
that there
appreciate
is.
it.
So people that aren't following you, make sure that they do. But because yeah, it's always so engaging and entertaining. I just love all of your content that you put out there. But how did you get your start doing that?
Yeah, for sure. So my two buddies from high school, Joe and Nolan, they started up an account called Strictly B-Ball, and they started that during COVID. They both went to college, graduated college, and instead of going out and getting a job, they said, you know what, let's just run with this. The account was growing; it was steadily growing at that point, and they were like, if we put a full time effort into this, let's just see what can happen. So they've been doing it ever since. I think it was November of 22. I asked them, hey, if you'd ever be interested in doing a football page, let's do it. And these pages are centered around high school sports, sports reporting. It's a lot of voiceover stuff, similar to my Vikings content. And so I did that. I started that in November 22. I was working a full time job as well. And then I eventually took it full time August of 23. So I've been doing it full time for about a year and a half now. And then when I took that full time, it gave me more time to do my Vikings stuff,
Mhm.
similar voiceover kind of stuff like that. And I've been a Vikings fan since birth. It's been my favorite sports team for the longest time. So, I just wanted to put my time and effort into that, see what would happen. And, some of this stuff just comes easy. It's like when you've watched almost every game for over the last 20 plus years, it's like you just kind of know what Vikings fans are thinking, what they're saying. And the content just kind of comes easy to me for sure.
Yeah, like I said, everything you make is so engaging, and your video quality is so good. Do you have a background in that kind of stuff, or you just like self-taught, figured it out by yourself?
No, just self-taught. Joe and Nolan taught me the kind of the ropes on how they do things and where they pull videos from. And honestly, I look back at my old videos now and I absolutely cringe at them. Just the editing, the way I was talking, just all of that. It makes me cringe just how I started. And now obviously they've gotten way better with, doing them every single day from that day on. So it no really background, just kind of self-taught. I spend a decent amount of time on the TikTok for you page and Instagram Reels. I'm sure like everyone else does. So I just kind of have a decent idea of what people like and what makes kind of a good video, engaging video.
Yeah, well, that's a good lesson for everybody because everyone always says if you're interested in making content, you can't be comparing yourself to other people and trying to make it perfect. You just have to do it and then, you learn as you go. And I think so many people they're held back because they don't want people to make fun of them or they're worried about what people think or they compare themselves to other people and it's like, nope, just make your content. There is an audience for everyone. So I love that. Let me say
100%.
what's up to Sam Strong. Thank you so much for the super sticker. Shiba dog clapping his hands. So I'm assuming in the YouTube chat that's an actual sticker, but I can't see it on my end. So let me know what that means. Christina, hi babe. How are you? I miss you. George, we are talking about some government issues in here, which that's definitely bringing down the vibe. We're trying to move on from Detroit, man. Like, let's pump it up in here. All right, like I said, I don't want to talk about Detroit too much because it's unfortunate because I think this whole season, as we've said a million times, everything came by surprise. Nobody expected this team to be this good, and I wouldn't have gotten down on them. I mean, we'll talk. They hadn't lost since October 24th before that game, which is incredible. So I don't want to be so down about it. They were in the playoffs regardless, but I think it wasn't that they lost, it was the way that they lost. And we haven't seen that type of play from them all season. They've always been able to figure it out. And Vikings teams of years past, they're due for a game or two like that a season, maybe three sometimes. And I just didn't see it coming. So trying to shake it off. But I want to know, do you think that Sam Darnold is going to be able to just shake off these nerves and go into Arizona now on Monday night and play his best?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest question for sure. I have no bad feelings about KOC not being able to do it, or B-Flow being able to scheme things up. I think that's exactly what it comes down to. Can Sam Darnold, shake those ghosts out of his mind and out of his vision and bounce back? And I think honestly, the loss stinks and it didn't help the Vikings' chances of winning a Super Bowl, but at the same time, the expectations just absolutely plummeted from what
Mhm.
we were expecting, 7 days ago. So I think that actually helps Sam. And I honestly think, even though this is a winner go home game, the lights aren't as bright as they were on Sunday night.
Yeah.
You are playing a standalone game, and there isn't a chance to make up for what you did if you lose on Monday. But at the same time, you're not playing for the one seed. You're not playing for a bye. You're not playing for uh, hundreds of millions of dollars on national TV for your next contract. So I think I think his adrenaline just got super high and he wasn't able to contain it the entire game. So
Yeah.
now I'm hoping he has that same adrenaline going into Monday night. He's able to put a drive or two together and then maybe calm down for just the rest of it and realize he's just playing football and he's not worried about anything else. He's not worried about the future, whatever it may be. But I think it helps him. The loss it takes some pressure off this is an entire team with the winning streak being over and all that.
Yeah, it sounds crazy that it's a playoff game and it's less pressure than last week, a week 18 game, but I agree with
Mhm.
you because of all of the reasons that you said. They were obviously also playing in a much more hostile environment than they're going to be playing at on Monday. And that would have been the case
100%.
even if they were playing at SoFi. It still would have been much friendlier to them. I'm hoping that you're right about Sam. Put my Sam shirt on just to show some support to him tonight. I saw somebody in the chat saying if he wins the Lombardi, he'll be Saint Darnold. So we got to show off that we got the candle going. But I'm with you. It also caught me by surprise because I felt like one of the compliments I've given him most frequently is that when he comes out and he makes a mistake, he's able to kind of shake it off. Like Kirk Cousins wasn't able to do that. He was able to just put that drive behind him or that game behind him and play better, which was surprising given what he's been through and the trauma that he's been through. But he was just not able to do that on Sunday. And I kept saying, kept thinking, if he just gets one successful drive and gets this anxiety out of his system and settles down, I think he'll be fine. But obviously, that did not happen.
Yeah, no.
So
Snowball, it just kept snowballing just time after time after time after time. It never seemed to get easier for him, for sure.
no, no, not at all. Sam Strong, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate you. I see a lot of discourse in the chat about trading JJ McCarthy or not and all of that. You guys, I don't know if we're going to have time to get into that debate tonight with everything going on. That's an off-season debate for sure, but I appreciate the passion here that you want to trade him for a first, second, fourth, and a first and fourth the following year. That would be robbery, I
Well,
think.
yeah, I think the Vikings would do that, but I'm not sure they're gonna get an offer.
Yeah, for sure. Steven says that Sam is a robot. He makes a mistake. His robotic body computes a fix and drives down the field. I mean, I would agree with you up until last week.
Yeah.
So hopefully he can brush that off. But I want to get into, I'm sure you saw the news that Brian Flores is being criticized again by yet another player. We know that a few months ago, Tua came out and made a bunch of comments that he was not a good leader. He criticized him too much. He was very hard on him, destroyed his confidence. I think he called him a terrible person, even. And a lot of Vikings players stood up for him and came out and said, absolutely not. This is not our experience at all. But today, or was it yesterday? Yesterday, Ryan Fitzpatrick came out and said some awful things about him as well. Gosh, what did he say? I wrote it down. Oh, he called him a dictator. He said he refused to collaborate with other coaching staff or players, and a bunch of other things that he had to say. And obviously, Ryan Fitzpatrick, he was in the league for 17 seasons. He's played for 9 different teams. He's been in so many locker rooms. Do you give this any more credence now that somebody like Ryan Fitzpatrick is saying it? And do you really think he could change this much?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's odd just the entire timing of it all. Like I feel like it would have been correct for him to maybe say it when Tua was saying all these things. But now
Right.
it's like as soon as he's interviewing for head coaching jobs, Ryan Fitzpatrick wants to put him on blast and say all this stuff that I guess he just had bottled up for years now.
Right. Yeah.
Um, I think it's I think people I mean people can definitely change, and I think Brian Flores came from a New England team that Bill Belichick probably did things a little bit different, and Bill Belichick did it his way, and maybe Flores was trying to match that, but at the same time, when you're not Bill Belichick and you're trying to match Bill Belichick and you don't have the Super Bowls and the rings to show for it, I think people
Mhm.
could take it the wrong way for sure. It's just odd to me that nothing has ever come out of the Vikings. The Vikings building players. Nobody has ever said anything in that sort of manner of Brian Flores. And maybe it's not. Maybe it's because he's not the head coach and there's someone else leading the locker room, and I don't know. I think it's just an odd situation.
Mhm.
Again, just the timing of it with Ryan Fitzpatrick saying all that stuff doesn't really make much sense to me. I don't know if he has like something against Brian Flores getting a head coaching job, or maybe Ryan Fitzpatrick is looking for one himself and he's sick of Thursday night football or something. But I don't know what it could be. I think it's all odd to me, but I think he's a strong candidate to get a head coaching job. Um, I don't know if owners are going to be able to look past the lawsuit and now this is coming out. I don't know how much they're going to weigh that, but if Brian Flores wants to come back to the Minnesota Vikings next season, I'm all ears. I will not complain about that at all.
Right. If anything, this is certainly improving his chances that he's here next year. I don't want to stunt his growth or whatever if these accusations are not true, but it's obviously a good situation for the Vikings to be in. I thought it was surprising to see that the word collaboration was used and that he refused to collaborate because that is one of the Vikings' 3 C's that they love to use. So clearly he must be capable of collaboration or he certainly wouldn't have a job here. I agree with you that the timing is strange. Why wouldn't he come out and stand up for Tua when people were criticizing Tua? You know, he was getting called terrible names, that he was a pussy and everything else. And he was there with Tua at the same time. He was either starting and Tua was backing him up, or vice versa. So I agree that it isn't it's peculiar timing, and so maybe they were just talking about his head coaching search. But I think that at least may limit where he is potentially getting a head coaching job, because I don't think that if the quarterback criticism is true, that the Bears would risk putting him with Caleb Williams, or that the Patriots would risk
Yeah.
having him either. So I don't know. It's just so weird to me because I think this whole time since 2021, did 2021 he got fired? It was like everyone thought it was unjust. They had just ran off 7 wins to get into not to get into the playoffs, but try to save the season, and he got fired, and then he sues, and then it comes out that there's all these other things. So I certainly don't think it helps his lawsuit chances.
Yeah,
Which
no, and I mean the entire tampering thing and getting paid to lose games. I don't know. Miami seems like it's just gotta. I mean, now they got players saying they're going to leave, and now I just saw a report today saying Tyreek is not going to leave. I don't know. They just seem a little bit dysfunctional right now from the rest of the teams in the NFL.
Yeah, I remember, was it last year that they were applauding that Mike McDaniels was letting them have like ping pong in the
Hmm.
facility, and that was just such a bonding, and they were like such a close knit unit, and now it's just like the entire thing is blowing up. So who
Yes.
knows what's really going on there? But alrighty, let's move on. We've talked about how the expectations have changed. I think a lot of people, at least fans, were thinking, hey, this team could go to the Super Bowl. And now everyone's like, I don't even think they're going to win one game, which it is sad to see. But let's talk about the Rams a little bit. We already talked about the change of venue, obviously. But when I look back on that Rams game, like it was October 24th, like we said, I think I put too much stock in that because of the schedule. It was a Thursday night immediately after losing to Detroit, which was obviously extremely physical game. And then going to the West Coast and all of that, they looked sloppy. I felt like in the beginning they didn't look really prepared. But then I'm remembering that there were so many other factors that went into this.
A lot.
Christian Derrick,
Yes.
yeah, I completely forgot about all of these excuses that I could have been using.
Yeah, a lot of excuses. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that went into it for sure.
Yeah. What sticks out to you as some of the bigger factors that contributed to that loss that won't be a factor this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest one is honestly not a short week. You get an extra day to prepare, and then I think Blake Cashman being in the lineup is a huge difference as well. With Ivan Pace, manning the middle, I don't mind that at all. He's not as good in coverage as Blake Cashman is, and Blake Cashman, I mean, he's the guy calling the plays in the huddle every single down. So it's like having him back and having him on the field makes the world of difference. And up until Sunday, we were undefeated with him in the lineup. So having him back is huge. Having hopefully an offensive line that's been playing together for several weeks now, having them with the chemistry there and not losing your starting left tackle right before the half, trying to figure that whole thing out with coming out of the half, who's going to play left tackle for us. I think those are the biggest factors for sure, and I think it's just the way Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay are going to attack this thing. They have the experience. They were obviously able to find stuff that worked against Brian Flores the first time around. So I think it's just going to be one big chess match between a lot of good coaches and a lot of good coordinators. And I honestly think it's just going to come down to the turnovers, who's going to turn the ball over less, and then who has the ball last, and whether Sam Darnold can make a drive or whether this Vikings defense is going to be able to stop Matthew Stafford and hold him out of the end zone.
Right. Yeah. But that's what I said about Detroit last week, that I thought it was going to be a shootout and turnovers. And then we certainly didn't see that. But I think
Yeah.
that these two teams, obviously, KOC knows the Rams very well and they know KOC well. But you mentioned Matt Stafford. And I was also looking back, I was surprised. I now remember that they got very minimal pressure on Stafford. I remember just feeling like he had all day back there, and
Yeah.
he doesn't have the best offensive line. They didn't sack him even once. And I read today he hasn't been sacked since December 1st, which is
Crazy.
insane to me. Why do you think? I mean, he's obviously not the most mobile quarterback. And I think I saw that their offensive line is ranked like 30th in PFF or something like that. Like they're not
Yeah.
great. What do you think Blake Cashman coming back is going to make a huge impact there? And maybe they'll get one sack.
No, I definitely think so because the way that they like to use Cashman and Pace is that Cashman's usually more the coverage guy, so he's going to be covering your running backs out of the backfield. And they love sending Pace on blitzes, especially right up the middle of the line. They love doing that. And I think it's more him not getting sacked. It's just more of a compliment to him and just his experience in the NFL with just being able to get the ball out, seen so many different blitzes through his time in the NFL. It's almost like he knows what's going to happen. It's like, all right, I know they're bringing the heat. I know I'm going to have to get this ball out. And you can do that when you have guys like Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, and Kyron Williams, when they can catch the ball 1 to 2 yards downfield and turn it into a gain of 10. It doesn't work like that for everyone else in the NFL because they don't have playmakers like that in order to make plays, and they can't just dink and dunk down the field the entire time. Getting pressure is obviously going to be huge. I mean, if the Vikings can't get home and like again not get any sacks, I can't see them winning this game without
Mm-mm.
affecting, even if it's not a sack, just making him throw into an interception or just making it nearly impossible to throw. It's like if they can't get any pressure on him, this Vikings defense is going to struggle for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think also I'm considering that Sean McVay rested his starters last week. So not Sam Darnold, oh my God. Matt Stafford has had an extra week of rest. And I know that some guys can come out maybe a little rusty because of that. But obviously, Matt Stafford is a pro's pro and he's always banged up to hell and he still always plays. He always figures it out. So I think him with a week's rest is much more dangerous than pretty much any other quarterback that's still in the league. But
Yeah.
now they've got this new X factor of they've had to relocate their game kind of at the last minute and they have all this stress at home. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. I want to talk to Sad. There's a guy in the chat with Sad Minnesota _ Phoenix sports fan. So I've got to know what is the story there and how excited are you that the game is moved to Phoenix? But he also brings up that the Rams activated Puka right before the game, pretty much took him off of IR, which caught everybody by surprise. That's obviously not going to be a factor this game either. Do you, with the receivers that they have, obviously they're loaded. Do you think that? I mean, I guess we kind of already talked about it with the pass rush, but are you confident that they are going to be able to take Puka out of this game or at least contain
I,
him?
yeah. I mean, him being activated last minute is definitely played a factor in it. I think it was more psychologically. Brian Flores came out and said that like he had to adjust game plans last minute, and I feel like that's just a load of BS. Like, why are you not preparing for this guy if he does have a chance to play? Like, saying you made a whole game plan without him in the lineup is just crazy to me. I definitely think they're going to be able to slow him down, and it, if you can make other guys beat you, that's going to be the key. I don't know what's up with Cooper Kupp. He doesn't look the same
Yeah.
the last couple of weeks. I think he's got 7 catches for 70 yards in like the last 5 games. If you just take out that Bills game, I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
everyone had a crap ton of yards, but I mean, he's been like non-existent, and the Rams have been winning games without that. But even going back to them resting players, I really thought it was interesting because they were actually playing for seeding. And I think it was more of just like we don't really care who we play mentality. I think they just saw like the
Right.
matchups. They're like, we're either going to play the Vikings or we're going to play I think the Bucks. And it's like, or no, who would it be? Yeah, the Bucks, right?
Oh,
But
yeah. Yeah. It was the Bucks or them.
I think they saw the matchups and they were just like, you know what? We've won a Super Bowl before. We're confident in our coaching ability and we just don't really care and we'd rather get healthy. I just thought it was interesting because it's like they weren't locked in to anything going into week 18 and they're just like throwing in the white flag. They're like, we're just getting ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, I kind of admire it in a sense because I mean, Dan Campbell is the complete opposite, gets so much criticism for playing his starters all the time, all the way through. Obviously, it didn't really end up mattering for him, but it is the different schools of thought there are pretty interesting. I guess it also comes down. I mean, you've got Matt Stafford who has been around forever, so I'm sure he knows what works best for him and all of that. But okay, I see. All right, cause and effect says Sam starting fast is going to be key. What do I think? I think, yeah, absolutely. I think that is a huge factor here because with Sam, it's obviously he has the tools. He has the tools. He has the receivers. He can make it happen, but he has to have the confidence in himself. And I think he's got to start fast to get that out of the way because otherwise, I don't know. If he gets in his head like he obviously was on Sunday night, we might be
Yeah.
catching some balls in the stands there in Arizona.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't want to talk too much about next season either. But what were have your thoughts on if you want the Vikings to stick with Sam next season, maybe franchise him or whatever the case may be changed? Or are you putting that much stock in what happened to Detroit, or do you think it's still a good idea?
Yeah, I feel like I've been pretty stuck on JJ McCarthy as the guy. I may have wavered back and forth for like a couple days when Sam was really balling out. But then when you really think about it, and it's just a numbers game, honestly. It's like you really
Mhm.
can't commit to the dude long term because the expectations are different for Sam Darnold when he's making $10 million a year to when he's making $40 million a year. And
Right.
as soon as he has a game like he did in Detroit, and you're paying him $40 million a year, we're right back in the Kirk Cousins situation of like, why are we paying this dude so much money when we could be putting it elsewhere? And the Vikings do have a lot of cap space going into next season, but they also have like 20 plus guys that they have to re-sign. And coming off an offseason that was Quessie's best offseason, I honestly think he's feeling himself a little bit, being like, I can sign whoever I want with all this cap space. And it's like, I just went out and signed two Pro Bowlers, three Pro Bowlers last offseason with all this cap space now that I dumped Kirk Cousins. And I already
Right.
have a quarterback I invested an 11th overall pick in. And now you're giving me tens of millions of more dollars to go sign other guys. It's like I'd way rather do that than commit way more money to Sam Darnold and see what happens. And I think Sam wants to come back. I think it's in his best interest. But again, if someone's going to throw 3 years, 100 and some million at him, how are you going to turn that down? Especially when
Right.
you haven't in I mean, he's made a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but in the grand scheme of NFL quarterbacks, he really hasn't made that much money being on his
No.
rookie deal and just signing these kind of one-off contracts. It's like someone's willing to put that guaranteed money in front of him, then I feel like he's just got to take it.
Mhm.
The tag is the most likely situation for him coming back, but that's 40 plus million, and I just don't see Quessy committing to that at all.
Yeah, I think it has so much to do with what we see on Monday and then possibly going forward because it's unfortunate for him all the pressure that is on him for one game that is essentially going to decide his future not only in Minnesota but what the open market demands for him. As you mentioned, he pretty much
Yeah.
missed out on that the first go round because of his performance. And I think for him, I mean, you mentioned the money, of course, that's very important, but I think he probably wants stability and to land somewhere where he can hopefully play there for 3 years or more. I don't think he'll probably get offered more than 3 years, but that would be the goal is to just be able to stay in one city, play with one team for a while and be a starting quarterback, I think. So for his sake, I hope that he gets that opportunity, but that's why I don't really love the franchise tag. I get it that people think they're going to be able to trade him for a bunch of stuff, but all that's a
Right.
little above my pay grade. I just
It
I
is.
don't
It's a lot of stuff that we don't get paid the money to look into and do all the research to do. That's Quessy's ordeal. He can do all that. He can do all the math for us.
Right, that's what I say. I can barely take care of my own bank account. I certainly can't get
Yeah.
into Quasies and the Wilfs and figure all of that out.
Yeah.
You don't want me involved in that. But you mentioned how many free agents they have to go into this year, going into this offseason. Who do you think is the biggest priority? Maybe like name like two players who you think that they need to make sure they get back.
Yeah. Off the top of my head, I think Byron Murphy is for sure a priority. Just the way he's played this season. Moving him inside has helped him a lot. Just the way he's been dynamic on this defense. Obviously, one of the leaders in the interceptions this season. I think that's a huge priority for the Vikings, especially with losing possibly Stephon Gilmore and Shaquille Griffin. I could see maybe signing one of those guys to another 1 year deal or something. But
Mhm.
other than that, like I think guys like Cam Bynum, I think he's going to be replaced. I think Aaron Jones is going to be replaced. I think it's guys that don't get me wrong, they've helped us a lot this year and they've done very good, but I just think they're just they're replaceable. Like I don't think you look at Aaron Jones and you look at Cam Bynum and you're just like I can't replace that guy with another guy who's maybe a little bit cheaper or someone with through the draft. It's like I feel like you can replace those two guys. I think Byron Murphy's the biggest one.
Mhm.
Um, but I think there's a couple other guys I can't think off the top of my head that I know when I look at the free agent list, I'm like, yeah, okay, we got to bring those guys back. But guys like Grenard and Ginkle and Cashman, those guys are here for multiple years, so as long as we got those guys and we can kind of fill them around on the defensive side of the ball, I think we should be all right.
I'm with you. Byron Murphy comes to mind for me as well. He did pick off Matt Stafford last game, so hopefully he can do that
Mhm.
again. But he's had a career year. It would be great to keep him. Thinking about Cam Bynum, though, I totally get what you're saying, but it really bums me out. I
It
love.
is,
I think everybody loves it. Just the energy that he brings to this team, not only with the
for sure.
celebration, but I can't think of another guy out there that has always like he has like a perma grin on his face. Like he is
He
never
does.
not smiling, and it's just he just has this huge personality. He does so much in the community and everything, and I hope that they figure out a way to bring him back for those reasons, but performance-wise, it probably doesn't
Yeah.
make a ton of sense.
Yeah, and I don't even think it's like it's obviously it has nothing to do with him personally. I think it's if you took away his personality and all that stuff and whoever it was at that position, I just don't think they want to commit a lot of money to his position. Like I think it's
Mhm.
nothing against him and it's nothing just I think he's played pretty good this season, but I think it's just a position thing. It's like they don't see that as a priority to them to commit a bunch of money to that part of the field.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, and especially, I mean, it probably has to do with what coordinator they have also as well, or who they have
Mhm.
in mind, like what kind of a scheme, which we won't know for a long time. Maybe fingers crossed, it'll still be Brian Flores, but we'll have to see. You guys, we've got like 65 people in the chat right now. We so appreciate it. If you could like and subscribe, that would be so awesome. But let's hit up the chat for some questions. Johnny, I see you're here. Hi. And he wants to know if I'm going to be hosting a tailgate in Arizona. And no, most likely not. I've never been to the stadium in Arizona. Do they have tailgates there? I don't know. What's the situation outside of the stadium? I have no clue. If someone wants me to like co-host like a local person with them, I would be glad to team up, but I don't know anything about it, so I can't take on that responsibility for sure. Let's see. Lots of people in the chat also want to keep Byron Murphy. If Sam walks, do we sign Kirk for the minimum to have McCarthy sit for another year? I mean, Atlanta would take the cap hit. I hope
Yeah,
you're
no,
joking, William. I hope
yeah.
I hope that's a joke. No. I was listening to your show and I love it how you read notes from Vikings fans because so many of them are so preposterous.
Yeah.
And I almost always laugh out loud hearing them. And I think the one today that I laughed out loud was somebody said that Danny Dimes can mentor JJ McCarthy.
Yes. Yes. I saw that one and I was just this is unbelievable. Like, why don't we just leave that to the head coach and not the guy who got cut in the middle of the season and is now like trying to make a football team? Like, let's just like let's keep Daniel Jones as far away from JJ McCarthy as we can.
Yeah, I think that people have this idea now that KOC is this quarterback whisperer and that he can revive anyone's career. I see
Yeah.
so many people say that and that basically the opinion is you can plug any quarterback into this offense and they're going to find success. He's rehabilitating, obviously rehabilitated Sam Darnold, but they think he's signed Daniel Jones because he's going to do the same thing for him, et cetera, et cetera. And I just can't subscribe to that, you guys. I don't mean any shade to KOC or anything, but I mean, he is the one who drafted, oh my gosh, why is his name escaping me? BYU guy in the 5th round,
Zach Wilson.
Jaden Hall. No,
Oh, Jaron Hall.
Jaron Hall. Jaron, oh my, it was escaping me.
Yeah.
He's the one he picked him, so I'm not, obviously that was a miss because he's not on the team anymore. So if he couldn't fix him. I mean, Josh Dobbs, people use that as an example too. Like that was cool for a minute, but that was no Sam Darnold rehabilitation project. He also had Kellen Mond when he came to town. And that wasn't his pick by any means, but he was here. So he can't just plug in any quarterback and run this system. I know it's probably easier than a lot of other situations because you've got Justin Jefferson catching balls, but I think the notion that Daniel Jones is just going to walk in there is a little naive.
Yeah. It is.
And
It is for sure. I mean, like some guys, a lot of the guys you listed, I mean, they're just not NFL quarterbacks. It's like sometimes it's just far beyond what a coach could possibly do. It's like there's a lot of talent out there in the NFL, and some of those guys just don't have what it takes to play in the league.
No, totally. And I get it because a lot of people thought that about Sam Darnold until now, but I think Sam Darnold
Right.
obviously has much more of the physical tools
Oh
and
yeah.
I don't get it, but I hope you're kidding about bringing Kirk Cousins back. Um okay, let's see. Do you guys have any thoughts on how the Eagles versus Packers game will play out due to the backup quarterbacks? Uh, I'm gonna go to you with that one because I honestly haven't been I don't even know if I've watched one Eagles game all year, but I know they've had a lot of inconsistencies in the passing game.
Yeah. Yeah, they have. I honestly think it's going to be this is going to be pretty simple. I'm not trying to jinx a Packers loss here, but I just think the battle up front is just so uneven. I think Jalen Hurts and Jordan Love are both going to play. They're both on track to play. I don't think it's going to be a battle of backups here, but I think the Eagles offensive line is just going to be able to manhandle this Packers defensive line and this just Packers in general. Saquon Barkley is a different breed. And
Mhm.
honestly, they haven't played a guy like him because there's only one guy in the league like him. So they're going to see what's coming for him. I don't know if it'll be this high scoring shootout type game, especially with the way the Packers offense has been looking, but I think it'll just be like a grinded out 24/7 Eagles win. Like I don't think
Ooh.
it's going to be some crazy, close game that comes down to the wire. And again, I'm knocking on wood because I want the Packers to lose, of course. But at the same time, I just think the Eagles are just going to be able to manhandle them up front.
Ooh, gosh, yeah, you don't think it's gonna be close at all. I it's a tough position to be in as a Vikings fan, I think, because obviously we're never gonna root for Green Bay ever, but at the same time, we have so much animosity towards the Eagles for the past history. And I
Right.
don't want Minnesota going to Philadelphia under any circumstances. Like, that's
Right.
terrible. I don't want the possibility on the board that it can happen. So, I hope that the Eagles lose, as hard as that is for me to say, but you're probably right. I don't really see it happening either. I think especially, I mean, the Packers haven't even played great the last couple weeks either. So, that certainly doesn't help, but that would also eliminate one of the chances of Minnesota having another home game. So,
It
as
would.
unlikely as that may be, it is still possible if the Packers are in it. But well, since we started talking a little bit about Wildcard Weekend and some other games, you guys, I want to invite you to join my NFL Survivor contest. I have been hosting these for a few years on Splash Sports. I am not a sports bettor by any means. I am not good at any of that stuff, but I love playing Survivor League because it's simple, it's easy to understand, but you still have to use quite a bit of strategy. It's not like just with NFL picks, you just throw out who you think's going to win. You got to think about it a little bit. So, for the playoff survivor, how it works is wildcard weekend, you have to pick three teams that you think are going to win. The kicker is you cannot pick any of those three teams throughout the playoffs again. So you won't be able to select that team in the divisional round, the championship round, the Super Bowl. So you have to really think about it and think, you have to kind of save the good ones for last and move some puzzle pieces around. So I am going to get Leighton's picks there. If you guys would like to join, we have the link in the description, and there is a $10 league and a $50 league. Whoever wins those leagues, you get the entire pot. If there's a tie, then you would split it. But come join us. It's really fun and it helps me out. Splash Sports is hooks me up and they give me a little tip per referral link. So I would love it if you would join us. But Leighton, let's get it. Who would be your first selection for Wildcard Weekend Survivor Pool?
Yeah. First selection would be the Chargers. I just
Mhm.
think they're plain and simple a better team than the Houston Texans. And I don't see them winning a game in the divisional round because they'll most likely have to play the Chiefs. And I just don't see that happening with a game in Kansas City.
I'm with you. I also picked the Chargers. If you guys listened to Tuesday's show, you already know my picks. I thought about mixing it up, but then I was like, I'm not going to mix it up for real because, for one, it stresses me out. And then I know I'm going to get called out on here that like I switched my picks or whatever. So I also had the Chargers. My next pick was the Bills. I just think the Broncos, it's obviously, I don't even think it's going to be close. But then I also don't necessarily believe that the Bills are going to go very deep in the playoffs either. So that one was pretty easy for me.
That was going to be mine as well. Second round matchup with the Ravens. I just like the Ravens as a better football team. So I would pick the Ravens probably there with my pick and roll with the Bills this week.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Ravens are obviously a lot better than their record states. I know there are some people, including my pal Dustin Baker, who thinks that the Steelers are going to roll in there and win, which I don't know. I just don't see it happening. It's the same like hard to beat a team 3 times in a year
Yeah.
narrative for him, which I understand that, but I don't know. I don't see it happening. I mean, they've been so bad at the end of the year, but um all right, let me think. Who was my last pick? Oh, then this one's kind of a surprise. I picked the Commanders for my third pick because Tampa Bay is just so inconsistent, and I can see them hopefully pulling off a win. I love Jaden Daniels. He's one of my favorite players to watch, and seeing him like evolve this year in his rookie season has been really cool. Whereas Baker is just so hot and cold, as is their whole team. And yeah, just strategically, I thought that was a good move.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was going to be one of those teams was going to be my last one. I'll just go with the Buccaneers to switch it up a little bit. Why not? Playoff experience. They got, a couple wins under their belt. They won one last year. They're playing at home. Rookie quarterback. Why not just take the Bucks? I think it's going to be a close game, though. I've been leaning back and forth on this game all week. So I think it's going to be a good one, though.
I hope so. Are they playing Saturday or
They're
Sunday?
playing Sunday night, I believe.
Oh, they're the Sunday night?
Yep, Sunday night game.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't looked at the schedule at all. I guess I've just been so, we know the Vikings are on Monday, so I'm just like, well, I'm just going to be
Right.
sitting at home all weekend watching them, so who cares what order they're in, but yeah, I am a little, I don't know. I don't want to buy into the whole like primetime PTSD thing, but I just don't like it that they're in primetime again 2 weeks in a row, but the venue change makes it so
Yeah.
much easier. I see, Sage, that you are going to be at the game. I am going to be at the game as well, my friend. If anyone else is going to be at the game, we should all get together. I had Jason call me right before I got on here. If you guys know Jason77 on Twitter, he's awesome, so funny, also makes great content. He's trying to buy like a chunk of tickets together for like everyone from Vikings Twitter to sit together. So if you are interested in that, definitely hit him up because he's a local. He lives in Arizona. So
Mhm.
oh, here he is on my he just popped up on my MacBook and said dialing in it tomorrow to lock it in. So yeah, if you guys are going, make sure you hit him up and hopefully we can all have a huge group. We're wrapping up here in just like 5 minutes. So let's see what other questions are going on in the chat. You guys are awesome in the chat tonight. Thank you. George is still talking politics in here. I think he maybe calmed it down. Just wait until Aaron Rodgers shows up at the bank. That's what Chevy says. Do you mean playing for the Vikings? I hope not. I
I
heard
sure
somebody
hope not.
mention that on your show too, that they were like, they need to get Aaron Rodgers.
No, no. I mean that is that's I don't know. I don't know why you would even run the like if you watched him this year, you just know he stinks. I mean, he put on a good show in his last game, and I honestly think that was just a nice little farewell for him. But I don't think any team is gonna watch the film from this year and be like, yeah, Aaron Rodgers is the guy we need to go all the way here.
No.
I don't think that's just happening. I yeah,
Yeah.
he would complete the Favre full circle moment thing, but yeah, no,
Yeah.
I far past that.
Agreed. Okay, this is an interesting question. Who do you think will get more money, Brock Purdy or Sam Darnold?
I think Brock Purdy for sure. He's
You
just
think
got the Super Bowls, NFC championships under his belt. I think someone's out there is willing to pay him, whether it's the 49ers, I'm not sure. But I think
Mhm.
someone will commit to him that's got a good maybe it is the 49ers. But I like I said, it's hard to answer that question before Monday because Sam is playing for it all on Monday. Like
I
he's
know.
playing for a lot of money on Monday and whatever team that comes from. But it's crazy to think how much the national TV games actually matter for like even for the MVP and all that stuff. It's like those are the games everyone's watching. Those are how opinions are formed when everybody's watching a game and on the biggest stage. It's like those games matter a lot more than just playing the Jags at noon on Sunday.
I agree with you. I can't imagine the amount of pressure that's on him. I'm hoping, he's going to be able to rise to the occasion, but I felt like that was an interesting question because it doesn't seem like maybe the 49ers want to go back to Brock
Yeah.
Purdy. Okay, Sal, other than Sam, who really needs to shine in this game, where do we see the shocking playoff upset and in which conference? Oh, well, I think I already answered that with picking the Commanders. But I mean, outside of that, I think it really just needs to be the defense. I think, as Leighton said earlier, they really need to be able to focus on getting Matt Stafford under pressure. I feel like I think I was reading earlier that the last game against the Rams, they blitzed the least amount that they did all season against them. And especially towards the end of the season, they've blitzed a lot. So they have to get pressure on him. They can't just have him back there, taking advantage of it. And I mean, not sacked since December 1st. That's insane.
That
So
is very insane.
I think this is the defense as a whole is the other thing. And I have confidence that they can do that. I mean, they played, I think, as good as you can ask for against Detroit on Sunday night to be able to hold them to as many points as they were able to. And it didn't really fall apart until like midway through the third quarter, which totally opposite of what I was expecting. As I said, I was expecting a shootout. So, I mean, would you agree with that they did pretty much the best they could on Sunday?
Oh, 100%. I mean, they kept us in that game way longer than we should have been in that game. You can only contain Jameer Gibbs and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams and Ben Johnson calling the plays. You can only contain that for so long. You can't expect to put up 9 points and win a game against the Lions. I mean, that's almost impossible. So it's like I think the defense did as much as they could have.
Yeah, I agree. I feel confident in them going into LA for sure. I hate that I feel this way, but like my hesitation is like all about Sam, which I don't want it to be. But again, and I forgot about this too, the crazy face mask against him.
Hmm.
just just insane. So traumatic. So we got to shake that off too. Who? Okay. I need to get your thoughts on this because this personally drives me crazy. I see Jim NFL says why I knew the Lions would win. The last 3 years, it's what the NFL wants because they've never been to a Super Bowl and feel sorry for them. I just don't buy that narrative. I mean, why would you feel bad for Detroit but not feel bad for Minnesota? Why would you? Like either way, the narrative there is great. It's Sam Darnold and this comeback story. I don't understand people that say that Detroit is the storyline that the NFL wants, and I hear it all the time.
Yeah, no. I mean, if the NFL was really rooting for this kind of stuff, it'd be a LA versus New York Super Bowl every single year. I mean, they wouldn't pick any
Right.
two teams other than just the big markets. They would just be rolling with the big markets. They don't the stories will write themselves no matter what, and they'll get the dynasties and they'll sell all the merchandise no matter what happens. But if they were in it for making cool storylines or feeling bad for NFL teams, then we would just do Giants Rams and Jets Chargers, Super Bowl every year. So, or not Jets Chargers, but those what I
Yeah.
mean. Those four teams
Right.
would be playing in the
Yeah.
in the in the Super Bowl every year.
Yeah. Absolutely. I guess
And the
that is a very
Cowboys.
That is a very good point. Okay, well, let's get wrapped up here, you guys. Thanks so much for everybody. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you sign up for the Survivor pool and play with us. I am going to add additional prizes if the $10 league gets over $100. So, a jersey of your choice or some other cool stuff. So make sure you sign up for that. And then we've also got the $50 league. I will add prizes to that if it ends up getting to 50 entries. So come and join and take my money because, like I said, I'm not good at this sort of thing, even though I've been doing it every week for like 3 years now. But Leighton, why don't you tell everybody where they can find your awesome content? If you guys missed it in the beginning, he has the best Instagram and TikTok for Vikings fans. You have to make sure you follow.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Yeah, Strictly Leighton on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. That's all the voiceover stuff. Everything I'm posting on there. And then if you want the live game day reactions on Twitter of me just overreacting and saying outlandish things during the game, on the bottom there, L Glodek is the Twitter. So yeah, I appreciate you having me on. It was a good time.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. And you guys, thank you for being here. We will have, well, gosh, I guess I'm not going to be there now because I'll hopefully be in Arizona. But the guys will all be here for the 2-minute warning after show on Monday night. Hopefully we will be celebrating a victory here on Vikings First and SKOL, but all of our crew will be here. Darren, Tyler, Dave. So come and check them out on Monday night, you guys. And thank you so much for joining us. SKOL.
Like, subscribe, and ring the bell. And rate us on your favorite aggregator. And a big shout out goes to Sal and her guests on this Vikings First and SKOL production, partnered with the Fans First Sports Network. Thanks, everyone, and SKOL.